We got to talk quarterbacks. As we all know, the New York Jets have a massive need at quarterback this offseason, and we're going to go into free agency to address that. We all watched this past season knowing that if we had just had top 20 quarterback play from any of the four guys that we had under center, we would have not only probably won the AFC East in all reality, but we would be playing in the playoffs right now easily off of the back of a top 5 defense. The New York Jets could have had a massive playoff run. We're not going to let this window go to waste. So we're going to go over the 5 targets that I think the New York Jets should go after this offseason at the quarterback position. What is going on, guys? Welcome back to Talking Jets with Tigo. My name is Tigo, and like I said, we're going to go over my list of quarterbacks. So a big question that needs to be asked is, why are we starting with the quarterback position instead of starting with the offensive coordinator and then bringing in a quarterback? Well, with this new day and age in the NFL, with these new diva quarterbacks, and with these quarterbacks all wanting a say in what kind of offensive scheme that they are in, you definitely need to start looking at the idea that one of the enticing points that we might be able to use to bring one of these quarterbacks in, whether through free agency or the draft, is the opportunity to be a part of the offensive coordinator search and hire. So that's why we're starting with quarterbacks before we go over my list of offensive coordinators, which should be coming out in a couple of days. Got to do some more research on some of these offensive coordinators to come up with my list. But let's start with the number 1 quarterback, the biggest target this offseason, in my opinion. This is the guy that I want under center for the New York Jets, and that is Derek Carr of the Las Vegas Raiders. Well, formerly of the Las Vegas Raiders. Why Derek Carr over any of the other quarterbacks? One, price tag. The Las Vegas Raiders are going to have to cut him February 13th, no matter what. If he isn't traded, if he isn't gone, they are not going to keep him on the roster. They are going to cut him because if they let the contract hit into the next year, they take on a massive dead cap hit and they have to pay him a massive bonus. Neither one of those two things is going to happen. So trading for Derek Carr shouldn't cost you a massive haul. He is gone no matter what. And the only reason you would trade for him is to not give him the opportunity to go out into free agency and test the market. If you as a team and Derek Carr as a team want to match up, you call Vegas and you offer them probably like a 5th round pick, a 6th round pick. It's not going to be a massive haul because they're in a bind. Not only does Derek Carr control his destiny because he has a no trade clause, but they have to cut him by February 13th. Their hands are bound together. They have no option when it comes to Derek Carr. Now, why do I want him on the Jets? Well, Derek Carr is a top 15, top 12 quarterback in this NFL. He just hasn't been on a good team. It is a very similar story to the Detroit Lions and Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford was secretly one of the top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL in Detroit year after year after year after year after year. And he was hamstrung by the fact that he was in Detroit and they failed to surround him with any level or modicum of talent at all to help accentuate his talents and get that team to the playoffs and winning games consistently. If you look at the Las Vegas Raiders, they have done the same exact thing to Derek Carr his entire career. They have failed to surround him with talent. They have failed to build a defense that can keep that team in games. They have failed to protect him on the offensive line. They've failed to give him weapons. Never at any point in time did everything come together to give Derek Carr even a shot to win football games. That being said, the New York Jets have the opportunity to do that. So Derek Carr for me is the number 1 target. He is the guy that I would like under center. The combination of the fact that 1, we could guarantee that we get him via a trade. 2, his contract wouldn't be the biggest of all of the contracts when we look at these guys in the offseason. And 3, I think he comes in and provides something that we just don't have at the quarterback position right now, and that's stability and relatively high level play. He distributes the ball accurately, on time, and he's just going to get the game moving in the right direction. Derek Carr is number 1. For me, number 2 is a little bit less likely. Well, a lot less likely. This is more of a dream, but it is Aaron Rodgers. Now, I have a big concern with Aaron Rodgers, and not because of the player, but because of the contract. We do still need to sign Quinnen Williams. We do still need to sign a lot of a linebacker room. We do need to go out and get a safety. We do need to bring in an offensive lineman, whether that's through the draft or whatever. We have positions that we need to fill on this football team. That being said, Aaron Rodgers would be a massive, massive step up in the quarterback department. 2 years ago, he was the reigning MVP in Green Bay. Imagine giving that man Breece Hall behind him, Garrett Wilson to throw the ball to, Elijah Moore to throw the ball to, Denzel Mims to throw the ball to, behind a revamped offensive line. It almost makes a little bit too much sense. The only problem that I see with this is that Green Bay is going to want a massive haul if Aaron Rodgers is going to get traded. You don't trade a former MVP. It's 1 year removed from him being the MVP for anything less than a first-round pick, and that's where I get concerned. I know that Aaron Rodgers is an elite talent and would immediately come in, but we do have problems on the offensive line, and that 13th overall pick is almost destined to be an offensive tackle. And if we can't get one in the first round, then we're picking another developmental tackle. And while we did have a lot of success by picking a developmental tackle last year with Max Mitchell, the chances of you hitting developmental tackles in back-to-back drafts that are going to be really, really good, I just don't want to play those games. Aaron Rodgers is a massive, massive get if we could get him, and that's why he's number 2 on my list. Number 3 on my list and number 4 on my list are almost always on the list, off the list, on the list, off the list, and for different reasons. Number 3 on the list is Jimmy Garoppolo, and I think the biggest reason for Jimmy Garoppolo is, one, he is a game manager. And I think when the New York Jets bring in an offensive coordinator, we're going to bring someone in who runs the West Coast system. I just think it is the best system to suit our skill set and the players that we have. We have an elite run game in the running back room. We have an elite wide receiver room with the wide receivers that we had. It doesn't make sense to go ground and pound or air raid and neglect one of the 2 rooms. There are other schemes, but with the NFL being so driven towards this West Coast offense, that's where I see us going. And if we're going to be running the West Coast offense, why not bring in the game manager that ran the West Coast system the best of all of the game managers and the quarterbacks that are available in Jimmy Garoppolo? Now, why wouldn't I want Jimmy Garoppolo? One, because I think his price tag is going to be a little bit high when you look at what he's going to be asking for in free agency. 2, we're always going to have the conversation about the injury concern. I don't know when the last time he finished a season, but it almost always seems like he is hurt, and those are the 2 biggest things. The good thing is with Jimmy G is that this is a player you wouldn't have to trade for. There, you would lose no compensation when it comes to that. You could just give him money, and it's not our money. Let Woody Johnson pay the quarterback salary if that's the way that we go. Number 4, hurts my heart to say that he is on the list, and like I said, he's on the list, he's off the list, he's on the list, he's off the list, but that would be Tom Brady. I'm not the biggest fan of bringing in Tom Brady. We saw what happened in Tampa and the fall apart there, but so did Tampa's team. The offensive line fell apart. They couldn't get anything going in the run game. Their wide receivers started dropping a bunch of balls. A lot of things went wrong in Tampa, and a lot of that could be attributed to Todd Bowles and his failure to manage a football team. I think that if you were to bring in Tom Brady to our system, and even if you were to bring in his offensive coordinator in Byron Leftwich, or if you were to bring in and help let him kind of decide in what kind of offensive coordinator he wants, he would still be able to get the ball out on time, effectively, and accurately to all of the weapons and elite playmakers that we have. He just wouldn't lose you games, and having Tom Brady in the last 2 minutes of games is always going to be an advantage for you. Doesn't matter at all. And it gives Tom Brady the ability to, one, come to New York and kind of I don't want to say squash the beef, but also play Belichick 2 times a year and prove that it was him leading that team in New England, not Belichick. It would create an insane storyline, and if Tom Brady came, you can guarantee that we would have a bunch of Sunday night football games, Monday night football games. We'd be on prime time all of the time. Tom Brady is number 4, and number 5 is Gardner Minshew of the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, why am I saying Gardner Minshew? One, of all of the other guys that are available in that tier 2 of quarterbacks, Teddy Bridgewater, Baker Mayfield, Case Keenum, Jacoby Brissett, Geno Smith, all of these other guys that are going to be, Taylor Heineke, none of these guys have the, outside of Taylor Heineke, but I don't want to bring in Taylor Heineke, have the moxie or moxie is the best word that Gardner Minshew has, right? Minshew mania existed for a reason. He can get an offense ready to fight a war for him and to go out there on every snap because they know that he would do the same thing. Gardner Minshew is less of an ideal setup, but if we can't get Carr, Rodgers, Jimmy, or Tom, and we're left with Gardner Minshew is the one guy that I see possibly has the upside. And then the real thing with this conversation here is that you would need to bring an offensive coordinator to develop Zach, because if Gardner Minshew's the quarterback, you need to have Zach realistically competing for the job by the middle of the year. I don't love the idea of Gardner Minshew. I don't love the idea of a Jacoby Brissett or a Taylor Heineke or a Geno Smith. Oh, Geno Smith would be great, but I think he's staying in Seattle. There isn't a bunch of options out there. But of the options, I think that his moxie and his character and his skill set would fit what the New York Jets really, really have, and his abilities with his legs, and we know that he's willing to use his legs, would give a wrinkle for our scheme and our system for whatever offensive coordinator possibly comes. Guys, let me know in the comment section below what you think of my list. Who did I leave out that you would put on there? Who would you take instead of the guys that I put on there? Let me know in the comment section below. And last but not least, go Jets.